In our episode on teamworking, David tells us how effective teams work towards a common goal.
They work together as a team, and that's the beautiful thing about auto racing, is you bring everybody together for one common goal.
David's view is that trust is critical for teamworking.
Trust everything. I mean, if you can't trust anybody, I mean, it's not going to work.
David's insight is enthralling, and it is always such a pleasure to have him on the show. So join me and David Starr on this episode of The Horn.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to this episode of The Horn, where here, back by popular demand, we have David Starr, my favourite NASCAR driver. David, welcome.
Neil, thanks for having me back on The Horn. I love y'all's show.
Great to have you back. Since the last time you were on, we've received lots and lots of fan mail for me, but there have been a couple of pieces of fan mail for you as well, David. And one of the questions that came in from Agnes in Charlotte is that David is really, really attractive, a very, very handsome man. Are you, Neil, and David twins?
If we are, I didn't know we were, Neil,
Okay.
but hey.
The truth is, Agnes, that we are indeed identical twins. We just have different paternal grandfathers, hence my male pattern baldness, okay? Just so that you know. All kidding aside, talking about fitness, David, you're in a car a lot of the time. How do you manage to actually keep fit and healthy?
Well, man, Neil, that's a big part of what we do. You know, when you're racing these cars at, 400 miles, 300 miles, 500 miles, you got to make sure that, you're on top of your game. And when you say what does that mean, on top of your game? Meaning, as much as you need your pit crew, your team, your car, you need everybody to perform at 110%. Well, it's no different from the driver, and sometimes my atmosphere and the conditions I work in sometimes aren't favorable to what we're sitting in right here. Sometimes it's 155, 156, 157 degrees inside the race car. So, heat plays a major part in what we do. So, that being said, I want to make sure that I can perform at the highest level no matter what the conditions are that I'm racing in. I'm representing my sponsors, I'm representing my team, the manufacturer that I race for. I mean, there's a lot of people counting on me to be able to do my job as well. So I have a lot of people counting on me, and I don't want to let anybody down. So, your diet, training, being in shape, what we call that, Neil, falling out of the seat. They say that in our industry, he's falling out of the seat, and what that means is that, that he's getting tired and he's not getting the job done. And I never want to have anybody ever replace me because I was falling out of the seat. So I try to take care of myself, work out, train where I can handle any conditions that we're racing in.
And we talked last time about you only having a 3.5-hour gap between the Xfinity race and the Cup race. So you really do have to be fit to keep up with all the effort that's required for these long races.
Absolutely. Racing in Daytona Beach, Florida, it's hot here in Texas, but it was hot there. Humidity was really, really lots of humidity there. It was hot, no breeze. And inside the race car, you're not really getting a lot of breeze. And, it can take a toll on you. And so again, racing 600 miles in one day, I loved every minute of it, every lap. And but man, when the checker flag was waving at the end of the last race, and I pulled down pit road, I was tired. It was hot, yes. And I could feel it. And but man, if you're serious about what you do, if we all take our job serious, everything's important. The driver, his diet, his workout, just being in shape. I don't want to let my team down.
Thank you, David, for sharing that. You mentioned the term team several times over the last couple of minutes. How important is team working to you?
I mean, you think about auto racing, and it's a people sport. People say people sport. What do you mean it's a people sport? Well, the team. It's all about the team. You mechanics, you got paint and body guys, you got, electrical guys. You just have different people on your team that have a different skill set. And everybody needs to do their job, their task at hand 100%, So when I think of team, I think collaborative. You know what I mean? Because you got to understand, I live in Dallas, Texas. My team's in Charlotte, North Carolina, working on these race cars Monday through Thursday. Then we're traveling to a racetrack somewhere in the United States. And then I jump in a race car, put my racing uniform on. I jump in a race car, and they drop the green flag. I go into a corner at 200 miles an hour. You got to have a lot of faith and a lot of trust in your team, because your team, they take pride in the skill set they have, and man, they work collaboratively. They work together as a team, and that's the beautiful thing about auto racing, is you bring everybody together for one common goal. And man, I love the team aspect of our sport. There's no I in a team. It ain't about me, it's like, it's collaborative. We're all in this together. Everybody has to do their job. And if everybody does their job and take pride in the work they do, that recipe equals success. So man, team's everything in our sport. If your pit crew, if you're in a race and you come off the racetrack, come down pit road, and your tires are wore out and you're about to run out of fuel, you come down pit road, man, the guys, your pit crew that goes over the wall, they jack up that race car and they change the tires. They put fuel in the race car, they make some adjustments. If they don't do their job quick and efficient, you could lose a race. If the driver doesn't do his job at the best of his ability, you can lose a race. There's a lot of stuff going on to be able to win a race. But one thing about the whole process, the team's got to work together as one. And if everybody takes pride in their work, which everybody that I work with, they do, and if everybody works together, man, it's all about success.
David, you and I were talking earlier on today. You were asking me about my experiences in the corporate world. And I was telling you about all the politicking and the backbiting and the hoarding of information, not sharing important, corporate information, and the empire building and such like. In your opinion, what's the big difference between the corporate world and the kind of team that you're describing to us?
That's an interesting question, and we're all competitive, whether you're playing golf, baseball, auto racing, NASCAR racing, just in life in general, we're competitive. We're competitive people, and you're trying to get the edge over your competition, So I don't know. I think about our team. You bring together a group of people that are specialized in their trade, and man, when you collaborate, when you work together as one, and everybody works together, you can really come up with some interesting and find somewhere to gain an edge here, because everybody working together as one. When it's all individually, when you're all think, well, I did my job and I did it the best, and it's all about just one person, you lose the focus on the team aspect of it, because everybody putting their thoughts and their process together, you can come up with some great ideas and gain an edge, especially in our sport. And I think other teams, that find an edge here or there in the engine or aerodynamically with the body, you're not going to share that with your competition, But, there's politics, sometimes a team member does not fit in your organization. Maybe he's a bad apple, his attitude's not there. You want to work with people that are driven and that have good attitudes and they work well with others. You know what I mean? If you don't work well with others and you got a negative attitude, well, man, that's, you can find negative in anything. We want people that are positive, and so you might have one that doesn't fit the organization, and you might relieve him of his duties or her duties with your team, and they might go over to a competitor, and they can take some of that knowledge that we found an edge here or there and they can share it with another team. That happens a lot, you know. So, but anyway, we don't really have a lot of politics. I'm not very good with politics, you know. It's just, hey man, we have a job to do it the best of your ability, and you know, I like to work with just straight up people, you know what I mean? Playing mind games and stuff like that, that's not fun, you know what I mean? And people that have those types of attitudes or work that way, that it's not an environment that I don't think our team wants to be part of. So we don't really have a lot of politics in our sport, even though there is. I've never really been a part of it, to be honest with you.
You and I both know Rick Stapp, who works for ConectUS. And I know you like him as well. He's a good guy. But he was talking with me, I think about 2 Thursdays ago. And he was talking about a situation 20 years ago where he was in the corporate world. And it was one of these weekends away, team building weekends away, where a person had to stand on a box, close his eyes, and fall over backwards. And the rest of the team was to catch him. And it was all about trust. And he said, you know, it's really false. It's not a real situation. I'm thinking about you now at almost 200 miles per hour in this vehicle with your team of 12. You know, I'm assuming, this is a closed question, but I'm assuming you've really got to trust your team to feel that you're safe in that car. You know, why do you trust your team in particular as opposed to just any old people off the street?
Well, I mean, you know, Rick falling backwards and having, you know, his team catch him, I mean, that's, you know, it's basically what I do every week. You know, I leave Dallas, Texas, get on an airplane, and I fly to, you know, Daytona Beach, Florida. I jump in our race car and I go into a corner at 200 miles an hour. You know, your mechanics, the engineers, and the people that are working on your team, they're assembling these race cars. You know, they're putting them together. They're taking them apart, inspecting the parts, and when they put them together, the front suspension, you know, the rear suspension, the engines, everything. You know, you got to know that these people take pride in the work they do. You know, they're really focused on the task at hand. Yes. But the guys that we have, there's a lot of trust there, you know, because I know when I go into a corner, they didn't leave something loose or everything's right, because you go into a corner at 200 miles an hour and maybe something comes loose or something breaks because it wasn't prepared or put together right. You know, there's a lot at stake for the driver, you know. So yeah, it's a real deal for me every week, week in and week out across America at these racetracks, because, you know, I trust our team, and I'm part of the team, and I know the individuals, and I know they take pride in their work and they like what they do. And you know, working in NASCAR, in our sport of NASCAR at the top level of auto racing, these people have gained the right to be there. They've worked their way up from the bottom, and they showed that they had the expert knowledge, and we hire them. And man, they're really good, and it trusts everything. I mean, if you can't trust anybody, I mean, it's not going to work. If I didn't trust my wife, it ain't going to work. You know what I mean? If she didn't trust me, you know. So, you know, there is a lot of trust in our industry, you know, and I can't. It would be very uncomfortable to go climb in a race car and go in a corner here at the Texas Motor Speedway at 190 miles an hour and have something go wrong. You know what I mean? It just that wouldn't work. Somebody's going to get hurt, and you're crashing race cars. We don't. That's part of what we do. You're gonna crash here and there. You want to keep it at a minimum, but when it's a human error that somebody didn't do their job correctly, then you know then you got to kind of look within your team and figure out what's going on. But man, there is a lot of trust there.
David Starr, thank you very much for being on the horn with us. See you all next time.